Absolutely. And, I find it very interesting since we've been doing this show that sometimes a lot of people don't reveal that they're watching. And when I'm talking to, you guys are talking about prospects. And when I'm talking to a prospect, there's a point early on that I get a sense that they probably have watched some of our content. And it's a sense like you feel they're acting like they know you, even though you've never met.
Well, I'm sure you guys get
everything flows a little more easily, and it's just they seem to be more trusting and everything. But it's just a sense because they don't always say, "Oh, I've watched your video podcast."
Yeah, a lot of times when I see people in person, whether it's an event or just hanging out, or you run into them at the grocery store, they're like, "I love your show. I've seen your show." And it's like, well, I would have loved to hear that in a comment on LinkedIn, so other people like in your network may have seen that you like the show. That'd be pretty cool, And I think a lot of times, like the people who are actually tuning in and listening to it aren't thinking, I need to go back to social media to let Mike know that I like the show. They're just listening. They're like the regular, And I have to say, I admit myself too, there's like a handful of shows that I listen to, and I don't always go back to the social media content. So once you get someone in, now the important part at that time is to be consistent. And then, it's just like you tell your family member, Alex, when you were on my show the other day, you had to jump because you were picking your daughter up from school. You told her, I'm going to be there on time at this time. And you showed up and you were on time, right? So when you tell your audience, hey, we're doing the show on Mondays, or we're doing the show on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then all of a sudden you start, flaking out, that becomes a problem, because now all of a sudden that trust, or how serious are they taking it? And I have to say, I'm someone out here preaching this, and I've even made that mistake in the past. I did like 200 weeks in a row. I did every Monday. And then just recently, about 25, 26 episodes ago, so weeks ago, I started to get, into this position where I was producing so many of other people's content that I kind of had my show like, hey, we'll get to it. It'll be a week here. I kind of wanted to hit that 200 straight consecutive. And then I realized what I just told you guys. Like, that became a problem, because my audience is like, hey, what happened to the weekly Monday shows? Mic'd Up Mondays, like it should be popping every Monday. So now I have a co-host on the show, Dave Ragosa. So a little plug for my show that I didn't intentionally do, but there you go. Check out Mic'd Up. And so Dave Ragosa is on the show now. And I told him, once you join and we start doing this, on repetition, we're going to continue to have a lot of guests on. We'll get back to the Monday schedule. So
I got a question about that.
That's important.
Related to schedules, dude, because I think it's awesome. But a lot of professional service firms, let's take accounting, insurance, attorneys, bookkeepers, all these firms, they don't have time to do a show like every week. The idea of that just seems overwhelming, especially when you think about like a tax season or something for some of these professionals, or a big case they're working on. How do you handle that?
Well, what they should do is schedule a time that they know they can commit to, like a new show that we're launching. And the host of the show was going to be the same thing. He's the CEO of the company. Now he's hosting the podcast, and he's like, I really don't have time to do these interviews and host these interviews every week. I said, well, can you commit to like a 3-hour or 4-hour window once or twice a month? And if you can sit in your office and have a couple shirts, or maybe change your jacket out or something, and record 2 or 3 of them in a row. So now you're block scheduling your time. So that's podcast time. And then even if you don't have maybe a podcast or a guest, you could record some content in that time. You can maybe just do some, solo stuff that doesn't turn into a podcast. Maybe it doesn't. But I would block your time to make sure you're committed to it.